Welcome to the Voices of the Goddess podcast. We believe that there is a goddess inside each and every one of us. When we use our voice to share that goddess, we support and uplift each other. Join us each week as we interview women to receive the message of their goddess within. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Voices of the Goddess podcast, where we empower, inspire, and uplift women to be the goddesses they were meant to be. I'm your co-host, Julietta, also known as the Magical PT. I am here in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but originally a Midwesterner girl from Wisconsin. And I don't know, I live in Florida for over 25 years now, and I still can't call Florida home. Wisconsin will always be home for me. And this humidity this morning, like I couldn't even breathe out there. Like I need to go home and breathe some cool, fresh air. But anyway, here in Fort Lauderdale, I'm a physical therapist, but a very alternative, holistic PT where I'm looking at not just the body, but emotions, energy, chakras, all that good stuff, because it's all part of the whole. When you're just looking at pieces of the body, you're never going to get true healing. So I'm really focused on the whole. Who are you, ma'am?
I was thinking about your comment about the humidity because it always cracks me up when I go. Sorry, Allison Mancini, also a Midwest girl, grew up in Michigan, but I have also been in Florida for over 25 years. Actually, both of us are almost 30 years.
Yeah,
we're not far off. It's getting close. But it cracks me up because I'll go home to visit. See, I still call Michigan home as well. I'll go home to visit in Michigan, and my friends will be like, it's so humid. And I'm like, girl, you need to move down to Florida. You have no idea. But they really, really believe their humidity is worse than us. Like, they're convinced. And I'm like, just come on down in July or August and let me know if you still feel the same way.
Part of it too, I think the difference is up there, it just lasts for a short time.
Yeah, and it's
going out there this morning and I'm going, okay, ready for months and months and months of this.
But I have to tell you what, I thought like our humidity was bad, and my daughter goes to college in Texas, and I'll never forget moving day. She goes to Baylor in Waco, so like right smack dab in the middle of the state. Moving day was in the middle of August in Texas, and we were like, okay, we're used to the heat, like we can handle this. Oh, that's a whole nother level of heat. That was like that dry, you cannot breathe, you just walked into an oven heat. It was crazy. But okay, enough about the weather. So again, my name is Allison Mancini, and I am Human Resources Director for an amazing company called The Gold Digger Girl. I'm also a functional nutritionist. And my passion, much like Julietta's, is helping women to be their best. Mine's a little bit different. I really work with nutrition. I'm a big believer in what you eat absolutely makes a difference in how you are able to function. And Julietta makes sure that all your body parts are working great. So we work well together. And I'm excited to be here this morning.
I'm excited. New month, new sponsor.
Yes.
So our sponsor right now is Bowtie Kids. They provide courage and confidence for kids with chronic pain, and it's an impact-driven, for-purpose organization committed to enhancing the lives of youth suffering from chronic pain and their families. It's a mission to inspire courage and confidence in youth living with chronic pain and their families by transforming lives through personal development, community building, and gardening to build a sustainable quality of life. On May 26th, you can join them for their Courage and Confidence Awards, which celebrates and honors community leaders who have been courageous and confident in taking on their own lives to serve and support others. To purchase tickets, bid on silent auction items, enter the raffle, or donate to support their work, you can visit them at www.bowtiekids.org. And you can also find, we'll be posting all their stuff everywhere on our social media. And this is an organization I have been involved with. It's probably, I bet, close to 5 years now that I've been working with them. And, it's interesting. As a physical therapist, I get it. And that's part of the reason that I chose this organization, and also Karen and Tracy, who this is their organization, have both been guests on our podcast, but I've known them both for years and they're amazing ladies. But people out in the community just don't understand that there's kids out there that are in pain and suffering every day. And, you think about it as an adult, say your back is hurting and how difficult it is to go through your day. Imagine being a kid and just being stuck with that. So it's a great, great program. I encourage you to check it out. And I will be at the Courage and Confidence Awards. So I'd love to see everybody out there.
I actually just thought of you, and I know somebody in common who has a young daughter who's dealing with some severe pain right now. I don't know if you're aware of it. We'll talk about it later, but we need to connect them up with Bowtie Kids.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know. I knew adults go through pain. I didn't realize how many children, and it can be from all kinds of reasons. Sometimes maybe they have they have a diagnosis, they have an illness. All kinds of things. They could be going through treatment for something, but yeah, it's pretty huge. And I think it's really amazing that Karen and Tracy do that. And I'm grateful to have met them through you and that they are a sponsor because they are awesome. And please support them.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about meditating because it comes up a lot in our podcast. And I actually did a live inside of Gold Digger Girl student groups about meditating because so many people, they hear the word meditate and they're like, no. You know what I mean? They're like all afraid to. But, it's interesting because I was actually doing a little bit of research, just kind of dig into more about meditating because there really is a lot of research out there now on the benefits of meditating. And if you've never heard of it, and Juliet and I both read his books, Joe Dispenza is huge. And there's other people out there. But I think the cool thing about Joe Dispenza is he actually does a lot of the research. So a lot of that, what's out there has come from his work. But it's really phenomenal what meditating can do for you. And I didn't really realize it. I was told by my functional medicine doctor over 12 years ago, you need to start meditating. And I was like, yeah, right. I just kind of blew it off and didn't think it was, what is that going to do for me? It was kind of my attitude. And it wasn't until probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I don't even remember why. Somebody said something or it just was said the way I needed to hear it that I was convinced. And I started meditating and it is so true. And you don't have to meditate for long. It can just be for a couple of minutes a day. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Juliet and I have a friend in common who she meditates for hours, but I just can't do that.
Well, and the thing too is, so many people think that they have to do it first. If it's difficult for you, literally start with 1 minute until 1 minute gets to be easy and then do 2 minutes. But just give it a chance and you might be amazed.
And I just to finish this up before we bring our guest on. There's so many apps out there now. There's Insight which you and I both love. And what I love about Insight is because you can literally filter to the time that you want to meditate and what you want to meditate on. And it even has sound therapy. It has all kinds of things on it. Awesome. And then there's
classes and everything on there too.
Yeah. There's Calm, there's Headspace. Peloton, the Peloton app actually has meditations. And this new app I've been using for workouts called Fit On, they have meditate. So a lot of these, and they're free. They're all free. You can meditate anywhere, anytime. So I encourage you to give it a try if you've never tried before. It's good for you.
You're going to bring on our guest?
I do. Let's bring her on. Hello,
Fiona.
Hello, great to see you. Thank you.
Please take a couple minutes and tell our audience all about you. We'd love to know everything there is to know about Fiona.
Okay, so I'm Fiona Cutts. I'm currently in sunny Croatia. I'm actually from the UK originally. And nowadays I'm a facilitator, an international facilitator and coach. And I specialize in helping people to show up in their lives. So helping people with confidence and speaking up. And it wasn't the case for me that I was born with that ability. It was actually the opposite. So I was very shy growing up. And I had quite an overbearing, unkind, really, dad. And that led me to just deciding that the best thing to do was to hide away, to kind of keep out of his range of fire, if you like. And of course, we often make those decisions as children. I mean, we make different ones depending on our circumstances. But of course, the thing is that I found myself as a teenager, as a 20-something, as a 30-something, still operating from that space of being very shy and not being able to speak up and show up. And I also really ended up living my life more for my dad than for me. I became an accountant. I worked in the corporate world and seemingly very successful, but at the same time, kind of hiding big parts of myself with shyness. And it all came crumbling down when I got a severe illness, chronic fatigue syndrome. And I was actually ill for 5 or 6 years. And during that time, at first, I looked outside of me for the solution. And I didn't really look to conventional medicine, but I looked to alternative medicine, really to give me a tablet or to touch my feet and touch a few reflexology points and boom, I'd be better. And maybe after 4 years, I started to really look at me and what I was doing to lead to the illness. And that's what led to me doing what I do now. So basically, the tools that I use with people are the ones that have allowed me to regain vibrant health and also to change the shyness. It's like nowadays, before COVID, I was running around Europe, particularly doing classes most weekends about empowering people to show up, empowering people to get over their own shyness or whatever it is that stops them from being able to give talks or being able to show up in their lives. And since COVID, I do a lot more online, like a lot of us. But really, I'm using the tools that I've used to become fully healthy and to be able to, like this, jump on a podcast and just speak and actually even enjoy being here and speaking.
That's awesome. And first of all, I love that you're in Croatia. Fiona and I were talking about that. It's a beautiful country. Secondly, I love that you're doing what came out of your own experience, because that's where I come from also. I was also very ill and went through a lot of difficulty. And I also went the holistic route and not so much the traditional medicine, and really, really made a difference. So with all that you are doing and all these wonderful things that you do to support people, what would you say? We'll just dive right into our questions. What is one book that you wish every goddess would read, and why? And how has this really impacted you in your life? That book.
Yes. So I would recommend a book called Being You, Changing the World. And it's by Dr. Dane Heer. And Dr. Dane Heer is the co-founder of the modality that I now teach, so Access Consciousness. And so this book, the title, Being You, Changing the World, it's about ways of finding out who you actually are. And with that, as you start to become more of you, so for me, with my shyness story, letting go of the shyness, discovering that I'm not shy, that the shy was a coping strategy, becoming more of me. As I become more of me, it empowers, or it puts a question mark into people's worlds. I remember when I first started doing Access Consciousness, there were people who would see me on Facebook and they'd be like, what's going on with Fiona? And it's almost like they could perceive more of me daring to come out, even on Facebook, let alone in real life. And they were like, oh, I wonder what that is. I'd like some of that. Doesn't mean that everybody else is shy and is going to get over shyness, but it's an invitation to other people to be them. And as more of us become us, so the world changes. And actually, this is what Gandhi said. I don't know if I know the exact quote, but be the change you want to see in the world. It's a similar kind of energy to that.
Absolutely. And that also brings along with, we do a book club every month in our Facebook group, and we're doing Untamed, and it's all about being the authentic you and not the you that the world tries to make you be. So,
well, it tries to tame you. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? Because I think we do all make ourselves tame compared to what we really could be.
Nice.
I like that title, Untamed.
You should check it out. It's a great book. Really good book.
Yeah.
Read along with us. Read along with us. All right. Our next question, Fiona, is what is your favorite self-care practice and how does it support you?
Yeah, so again, this is something that comes from Access Consciousness, and it's a hands-on healing that I receive from other people. And if I'm desperate, I can do it myself. But as with a lot of these healings, it's more powerful when there's somebody else there doing it for you. So it's called the Access Consciousness bars. And it's basically, so it's 32 points on the head, and the points relate to different aspects of our lives. So, for example, there's a point that relates to money, or a point that relates to healing. And as those points are touched gently by the person giving you the healing, you're invited to release any limiting points of view you have in that area. So, for example, with money, it's like in my family, it was very much you have to work hard, money doesn't grow on trees, you have to do this to get money. And all of that can be invited to release just by lying there. It's incredibly relaxing. It's so it just somehow seems to release the stress that can kind of build up just from living, but it also has this possibility of completely changing your life by releasing the limiting points of view. So I found, I mean, it's nearly 9 years ago since I learned it, and apart from during COVID times, I've received it at least once a week during that time. And I actually thought at the beginning of COVID, it's like I didn't know how I would manage without it. Well, I'm still alive even without it. But it was one of the first things when I was in Montenegro, when it started to open up, I was like straight on the phone to the person in the next door town. Hey, can I come and see you, please?
That's awesome.
And I love the gentle modalities. I always tell people to think about it. Someone comes up and shoves you, like your initial response is to resist and push back. And but if someone comes and like lightly touches you to come along, you're just you go along and you just follow in. And I feel like that's so true in healing in the body. So many of the modalities out there are so forceful, and I don't think the body welcomes that. You can heal the body with just the gentlest of touch and intention. And so I've not experienced access consciousness, but it's something I've known about for years. And maybe I'll go find someone and experience.
Absolutely. All right. Well, our next question for you, Fiona, is, we all have difficult days, but we still have to show up. We still have things we have to get done. So how do you rise up and get through your day? What tools do you use to get through when you're having one of those mornings?
Yes. So again, I mean, you'll get used to it. I keep on saying access consciousness, because I love it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I facilitate it, but I use the tools all the time myself. So one of the things we talk about in access consciousness is that a question empowers. So a question can change the things. And we have some really simple questions that can just start to change your day. And one of them is just asking. So if you wake up and you're in a funky place, just what else is possible? What else is possible? If I wasn't in this stuck place, what else could I choose? And it just interrupts and invites in. It's like, so in the stuck place, you're going down the rabbit hole. And it's like, I think when you're going down a rabbit hole, you even forget that there's sort of light above it. And so just asking the question starts to break that thing of I'm going down. So at first, and then it gives you the possibility of something different. And if you continue asking, it's like, sometimes I need to ask these questions a lot of times. What else is possible? Really, what else is possible? And then just noticing if I'm just saying it or if I'm really being present. Hey, Fiona, you don't have to be in this rabbit hole. What else is possible here? Or another one, how does it get better than this? And this is one that I love to ask. And what I noticed when I started Access Consciousness was that my life, I'd already recovered from the fatigue illness I had using other things. And what I noticed was that I was kind of okay at getting myself out of sticky situations, but it was almost like, having been so ill, I had a total cap on what was possible for me. It's like, well, I'm happy that I'm not ill anymore. And when you ask, how does it get better than this? when you're in a good state, it invites in the even better. So you can use it for the stuck state in the morning, but also say you get yourself out of it and you're having a good day. You can use it later on in the day to invite even greater in.
Great questions.
Yeah.
All right. Our last question is, what is one life experience that has greatly formed who you are today? And yes, every experience contributes to who you are, but there's always those standout ones. So what is one of those for you?
So I've mentioned it already, and I would say it's the chronic fatigue syndrome. And so I was literally so ill for 5 years that some days it was hard for me to even leave the house. And I had a part-time job, but I kept on not being able to do it and having to call in sick. So it was like I was very debilitated for quite a long time. And when I started to get better, I would hear people saying things like, "Oh, I'm so grateful for my cancer," or "I'm so grateful for whatever it was." And I could not say that for the longest time, because I was like, how can I be grateful for losing 5 years of my life? It's like I couldn't see it because it was all so raw and so close. And I suppose when I was severely ill, I guess if you have cancer, you could die and it's really in your face. With chronic fatigue syndrome, it wasn't really that I could die, but it was just like I just faced this kind of boredom of not really living a life that was in any way fulfilling. And it was really scary to think that at the time I couldn't even listen to music. I could do very, very little. And it really, I guess, like I said earlier, for 4 years, I was looking outside of myself for the solution. And it really brought me to this place where I'm like, you know what? I have to be really, really present and vulnerable with me. And I didn't exactly formulate it like this at the time. I didn't have the awareness to formulate it like this. But nowadays, I would say that what was going on for me was almost like, okay, here I am. I've created where I am now in my life, which includes this severe debilitating illness. If I created it, I can actually uncreate it. Mm-hmm. I can find a way towards something different. And it was a horrible way to get to that space. But having had that in my life with something so severe, and I was 40 when I became ill, and I literally have more energy, more going on, more excitement, more kind of in my life than ever before. And that's come about through this space of having to really look at everything that I thought was true, look at everything. And I've never said this out loud before, but I guess I can say now that I'm grateful for that. And I don't think I'd even acknowledge that to myself. I'm grateful. I was an accountant and my life was going in a particular direction. I wasn't happy doing that. I really wasn't happy. And did I have to have something as full on as an illness that wasn't life-threatening, but was kind of enjoyment threatening? Let's put it like that. Did I have to go through all of that? Well, maybe not. But I'm so grateful that I have so much more of me as I live my life now.
I love that, the stepping out of the victim role. It's so easy to play victim. And that's been one of the most empowering tools that I've learned over the years, that what is my reality? I've created that. And if I don't like the reality that's here, I'm the one that made it. So I'm the one that can change it. And I know it's hard for people to accept that, especially when you're, when bad things happen, to say, I created that. I don't want to admit that I created it, but that's the only way to take your power back and move forward. So I love that you shared that.
Yes. Yeah. And I think for people that are out there that are suffering with chronic fatigue syndrome, I think you are a voice they need to talk to you, because I've run into people throughout the years and they are suffering. It is definitely something that is very, very difficult. I mean, I know when I went through my illness, it was bad. And I can completely relate to what I was in, almost a complete adrenal failure. So I can completely relate to what you're saying. All joy was completely gone because I could not do anything. And it really, but I also know now, just like you do, that I created that. I got to that space completely by choices I made and things that I did. Now I realize that's not always the case. Like my daughter has a couple pretty serious medical diagnoses, and they weren't she was very young when she was diagnosed. So, but it's so true. I think that you're I'm really glad that you came on here today, because I think that this is something that there's a lot of women silently suffering through chronic fatigue, some that don't even realize that that's what's happening to them. So I think that's really amazing. And I absolutely love what you're doing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So Fiona, if there was one message that you would like our audience to take away from this show this morning, what would that be?
So I think it is that however difficult your life may appear, and it may be some chronic illness, it may be, I have a friend at the moment who is in severe financial difficulty, or it could be all kinds of things. However difficult it may appear to be in your life at the moment, something else is possible. It can change. And this idea that we are responsible for our lives, we're not hopeless victims, although that can seem, as you say, really, really difficult when you're in it and you're like, I don't have the money, but I have the illness, or whatever it is. It's actually the most empowering thing, because the universe where things just happen to you is one where you don't have any say, whereas the universe where you're like, you two have said, oh, and I've said, oh, somewhere, although it might not have been my best choice, somewhere I've created all of this. That's the universe that you can step out of the victim and actually start to have a different life, whatever it is that's going on right now.
Beautiful.
I agree.
Yes.
That was beautiful. It was beautifully said. I could not have said that better. It was very, very true.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, first, we want to thank you so much, Fiona, for coming on and being part of our show today. It's been fantastic having you, and you just shared so much that I'm sure our audience will find meaning and useful information from that. So thank you very much. Also want to thank our sponsors, Bowtie Kids. Check them out, support them. It's a wonderful organization. And thank you to our audience for tuning in and listening. And if you like what you've heard, please subscribe, follow, like, and share. Get the word out there, because there's fantastic things happening on this show. And if you'd like to get in touch with Fiona, Allison, or myself, check out the show notes. All of our contact information, social media, etc., is available in the show notes. And with that, I want to wish everybody a magical day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.